Hello, I'm Mark Crutcher, and you're watching Live Talk for October 15th, 2019. I'm joined by the usual suspects, my daughter Sheila,
Hi.
and Renee's out on bail this week, and she's joined us.
Wow, you're using our names today.
But
That's
on bail,
impressive.
don't be saying that. People might actually think that, or
You know
some
what?
pro-aborts might, take that
She's
clip
on
and run with
some
it.
sort of
I
work
don't
release.
even. It goes through one ear and out the other. It's all right.
Everything I tell you goes in one ear now.
Oh, really?
Just like Sheila.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm hard-headed. Yeah.
Oh, you think?
At least in
At least you can admit
Yeah,
it.
you're hard-headed, but you can't admit it. So.
I'm not.
Here we
But
go.
I'm surrounded by a whole bunch of people that are.
Yeah.
And
We
there's
can't
one,
help it.
and there's another one. Right.
And you forgot to introduce Ernie.
Oh, I forgot to introduce Ernie, our Life Dynamics mascot and Life Talk mascot, I guess is better.
Yeah.
The Ernie the Frillneck Republican, and there he
Yeah.
is. And he's joining us again this week, as always. You had something you wanted to
Yes.
bring up first.
So I love C.S. Lewis. He is one of my favorite Christian theologians.
Yes.
I don't agree with everything that he wrote, but I think he was spot on a lot of stuff.
He's good.
And yesterday I posted to your Facebook page a quote. It says, "Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching."
That's correct.
And that applies to everything, but I think that really, speaks to the pro-life issue and the abortion issue. We're just supposed to be a name and stand up for babies, even when, people aren't watching us.
Yeah, not just a voice and not just say that you're pro-life, but actually
Be it.
actions. We need actions.
Exactly.
And
for sure.
not to worry about what's popular.
Oh no,
Exactly.
because
You're
this
never
is,
going to be popular.
you're gonna make enemies supporting the preborn for sure.
I seem to recall a scripture in which we were told that the world's going to hate you because they hated me first.
That's
Yep.
right.
Who said that?
Yeah, it's Jesus.
Jesus
Yeah.
said that.
And so if, that applies to you, then that's a good sign.
That's
Let's
right.
do it.
First of all, I know you got some stuff you want to get to. I want to talk about real quick here. Our little buddy Ulrich Kopfler, which we had he's an abortionist up in Illinois. We had some dealings with him
Oh, yes.
many years ago and some malpractice stuff. He was a butcher like all of them. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the authorities have found another 165 bodies. We reported that he had
2240
they had
Something
found
like
about 2,300 or whatever
Yeah.
dead babies in his house.
in his house.
in his house.
Yes.
Now they've found 165 more in the trunk of his car.
Right.
And the authorities are saying now they're going to ratchet up their search, and there may be more.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Dead
in the
bodies.
backyard, in the attic. I mean, who knows where he has these babies stashed?
Those babies were his trophies, his
Yeah.
killing
That's what I was going to bring
trophies.
up. Every time you see some serial killer gets arrested, they go off and find out that he took trophies, or a serial rapist.
Yeah.
He took trophies.
Jewelry or
right,
whatever, something.
or pictures or
Yeah.
something. He took something to remind him
Right.
of the people that he'd either raped or killed or whatever. That's what's going on here.
Yeah, he's sick.
You can't tell me why this guy is bringing home 2,000 or 3,000 dead babies to his house and storing them in his car and in his garage and around his house. He's a psychopath, and I've always said every abortionist is a psychopath. These are sociopaths or psychopaths.
Right.
With evil hearts. I would
Black
hate to be him right now.
Well,
Let's just say
I
that.
just hope that they find all of the babies that are left over so they can rest in peace and be
Give them a
properly.
proper burial or whatever.
Yes.
The authorities are saying they will dispose of them properly. That doesn't mean they'll be given a burial. They might be put in a city incinerator. Who knows?
I hope not, but
But anyway, these are trophies.
Yeah.
He's proud of what he's done.
yeah.
And I don't know if at this moment he's so proud of it, but he's already gone through judgment, so he is wherever he is. And
Like I said, I would hate to be him right now.
yeah, that's right.
Well, I have a story that is almost similar to that in a way, just to show the hellish act that these pro-abortion students cause. On September 30th, TFP, which is Tradition Family Property, went to it's a student action. They went to George Washington University just to hand out literature and because it's such a pro-abortion university, and to just raise awareness of abortion. these kids went ballistic. They went nuts, and they were spitting. They were saying that they were going to eat the baby's lungs. There were about 15 people that had gone out, and yeah, there's the video. 15 people that had gone out, and I mean, it was just bad.
They were assaulting
these people that are out
there was one
there.
kid that had some sort of infirmary or that was handicapped or something, or he'd been hurt in a previous deal. They're hitting the place where he was hurt.
Yeah, he was injured by a sports injury. But yeah, I mean, they put on social media that TFP student action was out there, and so more and more people came. Well, a nurse that was in Scrubs actually was going to school, I guess, and she said, "This is what hell looks like right here.
Oh.
This is exactly what hell looks like."
And the thing about it is, for those who don't know, George Washington, supposedly a Catholic university.
Mm-hmm.
If the Catholic Church does not, I don't know what the relationship is between George Washington University and the Catholic Church. There may not be one.
Right.
But if there is, it needs to be severed right now.
Yeah.
And no
Absolutely.
Catholic should be sending their child
Right.
to this environment. This is a godless collection of degenerates. It's no better than Berkeley or some of these other places that we're seeing around the country.
And I mean, there are a lot of Christian universities, so-called Christian universities, that have students, like that all over the nation. This isn't an isolated incident.
No, it's not. And they need to be either thrown out, or the university needs to be honest and quit calling itself a Christian university.
Because you cannot be a Christian and support abortion and act like that. That is evil. And
Yep.
Well, the person that was handing out the literature, there was a girl especially that was going berserk, and Sarah here in the office had pointed out that she probably is post-abortive.
Sure.
And because she was just nasty. And I'm not being critical of anybody that does anything, but to actually, I guess, talk to them about their abortion and go that avenue maybe would have helped just a little bit to address it. Who knows?
Well, she needs to repent, and before she can heal, she has to repent and be
Absolutely.
acknowledge what she did.
But you have to know
she's
you need
willing
to
to.
repent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's not there. And I've always said that when you go out, and we've seen this tested many, many times, if you go out and talk to about abortion and you say you're pro-life, and people engage with you on a equal basis, in a humane way and respectful and so forth, and you engage with them that same way, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But when you see these people go berserk like this, 100% of the time, they've had an abortion experience.
Yeah.
And when you hear this little, I'll clean up my language, the guy that was there that was talking about, I'll eat these babies, or I'll rip out their lungs and hearts and eat them, that guy's paid for an abortion. He hadn't had one, obviously, but he's paid for one.
Probably.
And not probably, he's definitely had an abortion experience.
Just
so
nasty.
100% of the time when you see these animals act like this, that's what's motivating, and that's what's driving.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, this isn't an isolated incident. We have our website, peopleofchoice.com.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it just shows the depravity of, these people and where their hearts are and where their mindset is coming from.
Be sure and
It's
get the
just
video of this one up on.
Yeah,
People's Choice.
definitely. Yeah.
I know we add stuff to it all the time, but
Yeah.
you need to see what kind of people you're aligned with. If you're going to call yourself pro-choice, this is who you are.
Yeah.
This is the kind of people you are. You may say, I wouldn't do those things, or I disagree with what these people are doing. That's fine. It's like saying, I'm going to join the Klan, but I'm not going to be a racist.
Right.
Yeah.
You're nonsense.
Yeah.
That's crap.
There's
If
no
you
such
join
thing.
the Klan,
Right.
you get everything that comes along with it.
That's right.
When you join the pro-choice community, you get all the stuff that comes along with it.
Right.
These are your people. This
Right.
is who you are. So don't
Yeah.
fool yourself on that.
Yep.
We've also seen a couple of instances, one in particular here, unfortunately, right here in Texas, in McAllen, Texas. A bunch of so-called religious leaders got together and showed up at the clinic to affirm their life-affirming work, as they call it. And Sonia Miller of the Texas Freedom Network says, we do this to support the community, to tell the world that people of faith don't all think the same thing about abortion. there are many people of faith and leaders that are 100% with women having their choice. No. There is nobody like that. There's not one person like she just described. There may be people who claim to be Christians and claim to be people of faith that do these things.
Yeah.
But that's not who they are. Now, if you want to see how totally screwed up these people are, they were singing hymns and a lot of other songs at the abortion clinic, Christian songs. One of them that they sang at the abortion mill, where children are butchered by the thousands. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
So disgusting.
These people are, the nicest thing you can say about these people is that they're heretics. That's the nicest thing you can say about them. It goes downhill after that.
The deception is real.
And the people that follow them, look at what these so-called religious leaders are doing. These people that call themselves Christians. Look at them.
Right.
They are not Christians. I mean, the Bible says that, the road is narrow, and that's a perfect example of it.
Well, and Jesus said, many will come in my
Yeah.
name, and I did not know you, right? And I've always thought that was an interesting way that he phrased that. He didn't say, many will come in my name, and they did not know me. He didn't say that. He said, I did not know you.
Yeah.
And that's a fundamental distinction right there.
Oh, yeah.
That is a basic theological distinction. I did not know you.
And man, that hurts.
Right. That's cuts to the quick, right? We also had a situation in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi, the abortion mill there, where it's the last abortion mill remaining in the state. It gets a lot of attention. There's a lot of pro-life activity goes on there, and there's always been a lot of pro-life activity. Now the city is coming to the aid of the abortion clinic. They've passed a new buffer zone law that requires 15 feet from the front of the building that you can't enter there. If you're pro-life, you have to be 8 foot away from any person that's going in the building. So what if they're walking in the building, you're 8 foot away, and they run towards you?
If you're 15 feet away and they're walking past you,
You could be cited.
You could, and the city attorney after this thing, and also you can't have any amplified sound within 100 feet of any healthcare facility, but they admit that it was passed for this healthcare facility only, not any other one. But the city attorney there, Tim Howard, I assume he's pretty much a raging pro-abort as well, he had an amendment to the bill saying that shouting also qualifies, which he defined as, quote, loud, boisterous, or raucous shouting of any residential or quiet zone, unquote. That's very subjective.
Yeah.
What might be loud or riotous or boisterous to one person may not be to another.
And plus, you could be using projection, like a theatrical projection, and not be yelling. And then they can say, oh, that's too loud, that's yelling, even when it wouldn't be.
If you want to see the hypocrisy, another example of it, years ago there was a similar situation like this where, I can't remember the state where it was in, but a local abortion mill went to the city council there to get them to pass an ordinance like this. And they said that their patients were being disturbed by the pro-lifers on the sidewalks, and that they were shouting and they were using bullhorns or whatever. But what's interesting about that deal is when this thing went to court, it was revealed that when the pro-lifers were on the sidewalks and they were talking to people, and some of them may have been shouting at people that were going in saying, don't kill your baby and so forth. The way that the abortion clinic combated that was they had big speakers put outside, and they were playing real loud music to drown out the pro-lifers. So if this is so disturbing to your patients that they hear all this noise, why would you then put things that's so much louder it drowns out all that?
Why are you bringing more chaos to a chaos situation?
They were lying.
I mean, it comes down to the fact that they can't oppose the truth because they're not on the side of truth, and so they're going to try to silence it as much as they can.
And they have to protect the last standing abortion clinic all that they can, so they're going to have to put things into place until they either bring in more Planned Parenthoods or just independent abortion clinics or
Something.
It's going to be like an Alamo situation.
You think?
Yeah. I thought you would like that.
Yeah, I like
that metaphor.
All right, what do you got there, Sheila?
Talking about states being pro-abortion. California, this is an update. So California for a long time
And
is
this surprises you how?
It doesn't. It doesn't. It was just. It was a
doesn't.
matter of time. But California has finally passed the bill forcing public universities to dispense abortion drugs to students.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
campus.
even the previous mayor did not, or governor did not want to pass that because there are local abortion clinics that any student can go to that is like 5 miles away, if even that,
Well,
all around.
Here's what's going to be interesting about this, because this is going to happen. Very often, we see, back when we were doing malpractice cases against abortion clinics, what we typically saw was they had taken all their assets and put them in somebody's name offshore, in Belize or someplace like that. They had no money, they had no malpractice insurance. So if they killed somebody and we sued them, and a good example of this was a 22, I think it's $22 or $25 million award against an abortionist named Tommy Tucker in Alabama. He killed 4 women while we were going after him. I think it's 3 or 4. It was either 3 or 4. I think it was 4. Anyway, but the attorneys against him finally got a $22 million judgment against him. They never collected a nickel. All of his assets were offshore. The abortion clinic owned nothing. The abortion clinic had no malpractice insurance. He had no malpractice insurance. And this is what we used to call it running naked. These guys figured out how we can run naked and insulate ourselves from malpractice suits. And he killed a bunch of women. Not one of them was able to collect a nickel, or not one of their relatives. That's what's going on with these cities, with these states, or like in the case of California. Here's what's going to happen there. These abortion pills are going to kill somebody.
Oh,
that's a foregone conclusion.
I mean, they're dangerous. Not only do they kill a baby.
They've already killed
Yeah.
people. These abortion pills are going to kill somebody. And what that university is going to find out real quickly is the abortion clinic, the abortionist involved, all the people involved, except for them, have no assets. So when you're a malpractice attorney, or when you're any kind of tort attorney, what you look for is who's got the deep pockets. Well, guess who's going to have the deep pockets here?
The university.
The university and the state of California.
Right.
And they're going to be the ones who get hung with the multi-million-dollar
Hopefully.
lawsuit. Hopefully they will.
But the senator who's been working on this, she said after 3 years of working to expand access to Medicaid abortion at our public universities, I am thrilled that the governor rejected the misguided paths that other states have taken in limiting access to abortion care.
Now, we're talking about one state that has 20% of all the abortions in America. They have more abortion clinics than anybody in America. They got more access to abortion. That's not enough. You cannot kill enough
can't.
babies to satisfy them.
Not in that state.
And the thing about this is people always talk about, medical, surgical abortions, but, often people don't talk about abortion drugs. And,
Right.
well, abortion drugs kill babies just like,
Right.
surgical abortions do. It's still taking life.
Absolutely.
And there were a couple of prominent pro-life leaders, I'm not going to say of what organizations, but they come out and say, this was a reckless thing, this is a loss for the students. It'll hurt students. They didn't, and they focus on the harmful effects of the abortion pills on, the females. What about the babies that it kills? We have to focus, ultimately, this is to kill babies.
Right.
Right.
Well, you're touching on something that we've been talking about here. What the future is for us on education. We have a ton of people in this movement, especially a lot of young people that have come into it. Let's say in the last 5 to 10 years, or less time than that, who don't understand the fundamental concept of the abortion battle. It's not about all these other peripheral issues. It's about it takes the life of a living human being.
That's all they know.
Yeah,
And
from
when
the
we-
moment of fertilization.
And when we drift away from that, we lose our way. We lose our focus. And we've got to get people back onto that to understand that the only true pro-life position is like our motto is, no exceptions, no compromise, no apology.
That's right.
And we've got to get back to that philosophy,
Yeah.
or we've lost our way.
Yeah, because it's not pro-life if
Right.
you don't want the protection of every life from the moment of fertilization.
Right.
No matter what the method, whether it's surgical, whether it's, chemical, whatever.
Well, if a guy were to murder his wife, right, and they arrest him for it, and he goes to trial, and he said, "Look, I didn't shoot her, or I didn't cut her throat. I poisoned her."
Yeah.
Would we let him off the hook?
Yeah.
Because, oh, well, that's okay. That's not quite as horrific that you poisoned her, right? No,
not
it's
at
no
all.
different, and it's no
isn't.
different with the baby. It's
No.
no different than if you rip them apart, or if you poison them. It's
Yeah.
the same exact death.
Or starve them to death.
Yeah.
Starve them to death,
Yeah.
or whatever it might
Yeah.
be. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, we talking about education. We talked about we need to come up with the term fox lifer.
Faux life.
Faux lifer. That how we might start using that because there's so many people who say they're pro-life but they aren't.
But they aren't.
Yeah.
I think, and we've talked about this many times here in the office particularly, we've got a lot of people in this country who call themselves pro-life and honestly think that they are pro-life, but they're not.
They just
don't
need to
understand.
learn.
Right, they need to be educated. But and of course the perfect example of that is one we talk about here all the time. Oh, I'm personally pro-life and I would never have an abortion, but
But
I wouldn't
can't
tell somebody else what they can do.
Yeah.
You're not pro-life. You're lying.
No.
You're deceiving yourself or you're
Yeah.
deceiving others. Pro-life does not mean I wouldn't kill my baby, but it's okay for other people to kill
Right.
their babies. That's not a pro-life position.
Right.
And we need to do a better job, especially with all these young people coming in, because they're under a lot of deception. And there's a ton of people out there who will tell you they're pro-life when they're not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I made this analogy. We were talking to somebody at that convention we were at the other day about how when somebody says they're a Christian, what does that mean? It doesn't mean a thing until they tell you what it means.
Right.
Half the people in this country, that would identify themselves as Christian, if you said, okay, what does it mean to you that you're a Christian? What does that mean?
Right.
Well, I'm a good person.
Yeah. Or I believe in God.
I believe
so
in God.
what?
Yeah.
The devil. Yeah.
Satan believes in God.
Yeah. It's about being born again, having the Holy Spirit, come into your heart.
Well, Satan believes in God better than you do.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, he was out there with them.
He's seen him.
He has seen them face to face.
So your belief in God means nothing.
Yeah.
So,
right.
but half the Christians in this country would tell you, give you an example of something. If you said, what makes you a Christian? They would give you an example of something that has nothing to do.
I go to church every Sunday.
Or I'm a good person.
Yeah.
I believe in God. Or, anyway, the same thing is true about pro-life.
Yes.
And we have got to get back to the point where we're making people understand what the pro-life message is.
Right.
And that's something that Life Dynamics is going to be
Right.
front and center on. We've got to get back to that.
We've got to get back to bringing God back into our country.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know where we can start bringing God back to? Is the church.
Schools.
Right now we have churches that have excluded God from them.
Oh, yeah.
Like these in McAllen, Texas would be perfect examples of that.
That's true.
They may not believe in the separation of church and state, but they believe in the separation of church and God.
Yeah.
They certainly believe that. Anyway, it's time for robots, and when we come back, I want to talk about something that I don't even want to call this guy a Texan. It makes
He's
me
not.
sick.
He
No.
doesn't have a heart of a Texan.
Heavens,
He's not.
no.
Beto O'Rourke said.
Robert Francis.
Robert Francis O'Rourke, something this degenerate said. Anyway, when we come back from robots, we're going to talk about that.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe v. Wade, and those who defend it are known as robots. This is how they think.
Pro-lifers talk about the sanctity of human life, but most of them support the death penalty.
To begin with, there are a lot of pro-life people, including me, who strongly oppose the death penalty. In fact, my experience has been that there is more opposition to the death penalty inside the pro-life movement than there is in the general American population. However, those who support the death penalty are not disqualified from legitimately claiming to be pro-life. There is no inconsistency in saying that convicted murderers should be executed, but innocent babies should not be. It is also interesting to note that the pro-choice crowd claims that opposing abortion while supporting the death penalty is inconsistent, but supporting abortion while opposing the death penalty is perfectly logical. In fact, they often refer to that position as enlightened. An example of this hypocrisy was seen in 2011 when the governor of Illinois, Pat Quinn, signed a bill ending the death penalty in that state, citing concerns that Illinois might execute someone who's innocent. Of course, liberals across America, many of them Quinn's fellow abortion apologists, immediately lauded his action, calling him a hero and demanding that other governors immediately follow suit. The question is, why are these people so eager to defend those on death row who may be innocent, while being totally comfortable with slaughtering millions of human beings in the womb who are undeniably innocent? Let's also remember that every person on death row was given a trial and an appeals process that could have taken decades. But for the unborn, there is no trial, no judge, no jury, no appeal, and no stay of execution. Words to live by, right? Just pure genius.
Just brilliant.
How do I do it? How do I do it?
I don't know.
Anyway, all that aside, we've got this moral defective Beto, he calls himself, Robert Francis O'Rourke.
Right.
And by the way, people outside Texas need to understand why he calls himself Beto. Beto is short for Roberto in Spanish. He took this name to get the Hispanic vote in El Paso.
Yep.
That's why he did this. And you know, you hear all these godless liberals talk about cultural appropriation, you know? I've heard them say, you are culturally appropriating Hispanic culture if you go out and eat Mexican food.
Yeah.
Of course, you'd be dead by now, right? We'd all be go eat Mexican food.
The latest thing that they're coming out with is like burning sage. That, you know, burning sage helps, you know, cleanse the air and with antibacterial properties. And there's an article that said, oh, you can't do that. That's offensive. That's cultural appropriation if you're not from these countries that started doing that.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You're somehow insulting the Hispanic culture if you eat Mexican food. The Mexican food restaurant that we all go to here locally, is there anybody there that's not Hispanic? Have you seen anybody working there in all the years we've been going that's not Hispanic?
They're not offended.
They're not offended one little iota.
care.
They don't mind serving us enchilada plate, you know, right?
They want the money.
Sure. They're trying to earn a living for their
That's
families.
right.
Anyway, so Beto O'Rourke, this cultural appropriator, takes on this name, Beto, as a short for Roberto, so he can get the Hispanic vote, and the godless left has no problem with that.
Or they don't know.
They know.
No, they know. They just
know.
ignore it.
They just ignore it. And sure, the godless left out in El Paso knows it.
Oh, yeah.
He just this guy with that's basically Irish, right? Takes on this name so he can get Hispanic votes. Oh, that's okay. And we're all right with that.
I'm surprised he wasn't wearing a sombrero while riding his skateboard down there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm surprised
That
he
would have
wouldn't.
been really offensive.
And then he comes out saying, we're going to confiscate all your guns. Well, yes. And he said, hell yes.
Yeah.
We're going to come to your house and
Yes.
take your AR-15.
Yep.
Tell you what you do, Beto. Stop off at the Fort Worth Gun Show sometime.
Right.
Tell
And take
these
it from those guys.
And tell these people here that you're going to come take their AR-15s or any
They would
gun.
probably rather be locked up than to give their guns to that guy.
Absolutely. They'd rather be dead.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's kind of water under the bridge at this point. Everybody knows that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Now he's come out and said, somebody asked him at a press conference, do you think that churches that oppose gay marriage should lose their tax-exempt status? And he said yes.
Yep.
And he's not backed down. He has doubled down on it since then.
Right.
He's not backed away from it. He is saying that if a church just opposes gay marriage, if that's all they do is oppose gay marriage, they lose their tax-exempt status. Now, remember a couple of years ago, Renee, this was before Sheila was on Live Talk, we had a story about in Canada where a province there had brought charges against a pastor for being anti-gay, for using anti-gay hate speech. And what he did was he read from the Bible what it says about homosexuality. He just literally read it from a I think King James version of the Bible. He read what it says.
Right.
He didn't opinionate. He didn't anything.
Right.
He just read it, and he got charged with hate speech. And I said, this is coming to America. This will happen here.
Right.
Because the churches refuse to stand up. They're as much a frill-necked lizard as is the Republican Party, and as Ernie, our buddy here. When something gets controversial, they run. They run for the tall grass.
Well, first
Now-
of all, what happened about separation of church and state? And then also, this is a slippery slope. If they can do this with, gay marriage and stuff, they're going to be able to do it with abortion, where they're going to start forcing churches to pay for, their congregations' abortions.
Right. Well, go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, this brings you to your point that you were going to make, is that this is a test run and it's happened before.
That's what I was going to.
That's right.
That's what I was going to. This is a what's in politics is a trial balloon. They run something like this up. O'Rourke is not serious about that. He can't. He has no way. He's
Right.
getting 2% of the vote. He's never going to be president. He's going to fade into history and go to the old folks' home for godless leftists. He'll eventually be there. He's not going to see this happen. But here's the important point here. Political entities, and like political parties, for example, they will run up what's called trial balloons. They run something out here, and let's say that you're running for office. Let's say you're Donald Trump even. And he's got something he thinks is controversial. He doesn't know how to play with the American people. He'll get one of his subjects out here
Right.
to run it up and say, I think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then he can look back and say, the public just went berserk over that.
Right.
Or the public really likes that. If they like it, he'll jump on board. That's how political parties work. If they don't like it, he'll come out here and say, I never said that, I don't agree with my good friend
He'll
from,
back it
from
up.
South Carolina or whatever.
Well, I mean, this is exactly what happened with Roe versus Wade and with Norman McCorvey and the two attorneys legalizing abortion here in Texas, which is the most pro-life state, or was.
Right. They ran that trial balloon.
They
up.
and look what happened.
Right.
Abortion's legal now.
But they're running this trial balloon up. So it's not, what's important here is not what O'Rourke did. It's what all the other leftist, godless, degenerate Democrats didn't do.
Right.
They didn't come out here. They're looking at this and saying, boy, O'Rourke ran that thing up there.
He may have overstepped his boundaries, but what is everybody else saying and doing? Nothing. Oh, wow, this might be a good idea.
Right.
Let's do it in other states.
Right. Let's start the ball rolling.
Yep.
So that's what's important about things like this, is that they're trial balloons.
Right.
And that's what O'Rourke has done here. He's thrown up this trial balloon.
Yeah.
The other Democrats are sitting back there looking at it and saying, you know what? He's not catching a lot of flack over there.
Yeah.
We might be able to advance. They all want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
They all want to do this.
It'd
No,
be much easier for
I
them.
don't care what any of them says. This is what they want to do. And this is what they're trying to do.
They hate the church and they hate Christianity.
And the more they can get between God and the church, which is what they're doing,
Right.
and they've done you got to hand it to them. They've done a very good job
Right.
of driving a wedge between God and the church. And this is another example of it. And they can, if they can get away, if they're looking at this and saying, O'Rourke isn't catching a lot of flack. He isn't going from 2% to 0.5%.
No.
You know,
I mean, he's obviously doing well for himself because he made the next debate that's coming up. So
tonight.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that's what's important for people to understand, is not what he said, but what the rest of them didn't say
Yeah.
or didn't do.
Yeah.
And what's to follow.
And what's to come after this.
Yeah.
So, you're right. The next thing would be if your church doesn't pay for abortions for your members, then you're going to lose your tax exempt status.
Yeah.
You're going to lose your C3, whatever, or we're going to put you in jail or whatever it might be. But all this stuff that we see happening, that would never happen here. American people would never stand for that. That's nonsense. 75 years ago, if you described what's going on in America today with the abortion issue and with all these other things that are going on in our country, if you had gone to the average American to describe those and said, do you think this will ever happen in America? They'd have said, you're nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That stuff would never happen.
Yeah.
Never would
Here it
American people
is.
stand up. Here we are.
Yeah.
And look at the European countries and some Asian countries.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it takes courage to do what we're doing and to stand up for what is right, because you do get a lot of family, friends, people that
Yeah.
hate you and just want to have nothing to do with you. But you know what? Don't become a pastor or priest or whatever. Don't represent a church and not do what biblically is right.
What you're called to do.
Yeah.
And, one of the first things I told you when you came to work here 8.5 years ago is that you're going to find out that there are people in your own family that are going to turn their backs on you.
Yeah.
And it's happened.
Absolutely.
And it's happened, and it'll
Yeah.
continue to happen, and you lose all your friends. Believe it or not, I used to have a lot of friends. I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I know y'all find that hard to believe now since I don't have any left. So I got one guy that's still kind of I'm friends with, but this is just one of the prices you pay. That's
and
okay.
talking about family, I'm not going to say who it is, but someone on mom's side of the family that thinks you're a terrorist.
Right, I
She
know.
doesn't like you, and she literally thinks that he's a terrorist.
I know. Years ago,
That's like Brother Johnny Hunter.
years ago, she told somebody that she didn't want to come to our house because I scared her.
Yeah.
I was frightening, like I'm foaming at the mouth or something. I don't
That's
know.
sad.
It's
It
sad,
really is.
but I don't care about her.
Yeah,
anyway.
it doesn't matter.
Well, you don't care about what she thinks about
Right.
you. So.
Anyway, anything
Anyway,
else? Y'all got
that's
anything
it.
else?
No, just if you have any show ideas, send them our way, either via email or Facebook message, private message, however you want to do it, and you will get this mug. I was reaching the wrong way. You'll get this mug
If we use your
if we
ideas.
use your idea. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now we moved the teleprompter. I mean the monitor over here so you can see it. So now you can look and see.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't looking at the camera. I was looking at the monitor.
Right, that's right. But we had to move that so you could see it. I didn't know you couldn't see it until you told me just
Yeah,
a couple of shows back.
There was a glare. I could see there was just a glare.
Okay. Anyway,
Anyways.
you got anything else there, Doppy?
No.
There's the nickname.
Yep.
Doppy?
You might have to do a Facebook video describing why
Why? What?
I have the nickname Doppy.
Yeah. Well, we'll tell everybody one day.
Yeah. I'm sure they're sitting on the edge of their seat.
Yeah, they're wanting to know how did he get that name Doppy?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all the time we have. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you next week.